Today, we got the special privilege of diving into the housing market and seeing what it's like being a mortgage specialist in today's economy. Sandeep, thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. It's a privilege, my friend. So let's just dive in and get right into it. So actually, let's start out with what inspired you to take this route of becoming a mortgage specialist.
So it was a risky route for sure, but initially I wanted to have my own business. I've been in banking for over 10 years, 9 to 5 jobs. Wanted to have my own schedule, wanted to have more command over my day. Took me a couple of years to realize how it could happen in a realistic way, and the mortgage opportunity presented itself, and I took it.
That's amazing, man. And just to give you guys a little insight here, Sandeep actually used to live in the same condo. We would see each other in the gym all the time. And I actually remember the day he took the leap of faith, becoming a mortgage specialist. And it is really risky, no risk, no reward, but it is definitely a risk because there's no hourly wage, there's no salary, it's just 100% commission. And then, of course, being new in the field and going into something 100% commission is definitely scary. So, it's amazing to see that you pursued it and you're doing well. So, what does a day in the life look like as a mortgage specialist?
So my day in life might be different from somebody else's who's a mortgage specialist. I like to usually start early, and I like to plan my day where I want to know who I want to connect with, make new relationships, answer back to my clients. It's all about relationship building. So it's really up to you how you want to carry your day.
And yeah, I feel like everything, like no matter what kind of sales or business you're running, it's about building relationships with the community and adding value. What was one of the scariest things about taking that risk?
It was definitely a scary thing to do, where you're going from a salary job to not knowing when your next paycheck is going to come in.
Yeah, definitely.
The scariest thing altogether was the compensation part, and really not knowing, how much of a financial security you're going to have in the future. So potentially you could make a lot of money, and things could go really well according to plan, and sometimes things don't go according to plan. So that would be the biggest risk I think I had to take.
That's awesome, or the scariest thing about taking the risk for
Yeah.
sure. So what was some of the adversities that you faced on starting this process of becoming a mortgage specialist?
So when I started, it was the beginning of 2021, and that was the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The biggest adversity was that I was new to Vancouver at that time. I had just moved here from Toronto, and I didn't really know anybody else. So to make connections, and when I was reaching out to people, I expected a fair amount of rejection, but the rejection I received from realtors or people who I wanted to do business with was a lot more than what I thought it would be.
Yeah, especially with COVID and everything going on there.
Yeah, because end of the day, I know what skill set I come with and my experience, but when I'm calling somebody else, I'm just a random guy on the phone.
Definitely.
So you really have to take time to build that credibility.
Now, taking a risk of going to something that's 100% commission is scary enough. Now, starting out a position like being a mortgage specialist during the pandemic, that's even scarier, going into something that has no stability, right? And like you said, you're not even sure when your next paycheck is going to be. So taking that kind of risk during COVID, that's even riskier and even scarier itself. But the other thing you mentioned was a huge, is what a lot of people use as a huge reasoning not to get into business or take that risk is usually network. Like they just move to a new city, they don't really know anyone, they don't really have a community or a network itself. But it's just about getting out there, exposure, and it takes time to build the credibility, of course.
Yeah.
But I bet you it's definitely taken a lot of patience too. So that being said, how did you overcome that adversity?
It might sound corny, but it's simple stuff. Do not take rejection personally. Believe in yourself. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, but on the bad days, you have to tell yourself the reason why you started this to begin with, and just stick with it. Move forward, not backwards. Simple.
I love it. And the key highlight I want to point out there is remember why you started. it always starts with why. First of all, know why you're getting into the business you're getting in. And then when times do get hard, you got to remember that why. It's the same thing within a relationship. When you're in a relationship and times are getting hard, you guys got to remember why you got together in the first place. So business, relationship, same thing.
Same thing.
Right? And so what does the process, like for someone out there who's been thinking about getting into real estate or becoming a mortgage specialist, what does the process look like of taking that route of becoming a mortgage specialist?
I think anybody who has determination for any sort can do this job and do it really well. But if you want to be successful faster, you need to have a sound knowledge of the real estate industry and mortgages. In my career, I started with branch banking, so I was a financial advisor where I did mortgages, and then I moved over to commercial banking. So in
Okay,
commercial banking, I was doing different sort of financing, not residential financing.
makes sense.
And then I moved over to becoming a mortgage specialist. So not a lot of people take this route. It's sort of unusual because a lot of people will do branch banking and then move over directly into as a mortgage specialist because
Okay,
they have they have learned how to do mortgages
okay,
because that's in essence what you need to learn.
okay,
So I would say it doesn't matter what route you're taking. It doesn't matter what industry you're already in. You can do this job, but have a little bit of experience in mortgages.
and mortgages, and the best place to do that is necessarily in a bank,
I would say
or
as an advisor in a bank, or you can take a mortgage broker course.
okay.
But you really learn when you're doing the job.
Yes, you learn from experience more so than the textbook.
100%. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. And so necessarily, you take a job as an advisor at any bank, or you can take a course. So that will give you the kind of an insight or the basic knowledge of what you need to be able to become a mortgage specialist, and then therefore it's taking the risk, taking the leap of faith, and just being determined as you mentioned, and remembering your why when things get tough.
100%.
That's awesome. So that being said, what is the best piece of advice you could give to someone who wants to pursue becoming a mortgage specialist in today's economy?
So excellent question because today's economy is definitely very different than economy a couple years ago.
A lot different.
So I would say go in with a mindset and savings that you're not going to make any money for the first 6 to 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a little bit of financial security, you should be okay.
Yeah.
And of course, the things I said before that, believe in yourself and just move forward. You are going to get rejections, but when you take a chance and you're doing a new thing, it takes time to build credibility. And with rejections, just don't take them personally. That's all.
I actually really love that answer. And you know what? When it comes to rejections, one of the favorite things I've heard of is the word no stands for next opportunity, right? And,
Great.
And yes, and every rejection you get, you're just that much closer to a yes, right?
I'm going to remember this one. This is a new one, but I love it.
Thank you. So, that's amazing advice. Is the 6 to 8 month emergency fund is very important, and going into business for yourself, taking a risk or a leap where you're going into something 100% commission as a mortgage specialist, is that you definitely need to have that security, but it will give you a peace of mind, and you won't seem desperate when you're trying to make a sale or build those connections. Because if you have no emergency fund and you're desperate for the dollar, that can really show itself too as well when you're presenting yourself.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, I would say when you do the right thing for the client versus the right thing for yourself, it speaks volumes. They know it, you know it, and they're going to go tell 10 other people. And that's how you're going to build your brand.
That is so important. And I believe our success is dependent of the value that we add to the marketplace. Now, let's dive into the housing market rather so than the career. Is now a good time to purchase in the market with today's economy?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
The property prices are down because the rates are up. So the properties that were costing, let's say, $1 million a year ago are now around $850,000.
Okay.
So It's not a lie. We all know that interest rates are high right now.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
However, if you're buying a property today, yes, your payments are going to be higher than what they were going to be a year ago, but you're going to build a lot of equity in your property in a
Okay.
year or two. So let's say you buy a property today for 800,000. When the market recovers in a year or two, it's going to be worth 1 million.
And your interest rates are going to go back down.
Exactly. So your rates are
Okay,
going to go
okay.
down. So in the long term, definitely a win-win if you buy today. Yeah.
So no, that is great. That is actually really great advice for the or great insight on the housing market because what's pushing, of course, everyone away is the high interest rates. They're even going up, and I believe they're going to go up again. But the more so the interest rate goes up, the sellers know that people aren't going to want to buy, so they have to bring the price down. But it's actually a huge benefit to home buyers because in a couple years, when the interest rates go back down, the cost of the housing market is still going to rise and get back to its normal state. So the equity on your home is going to double, if not triple.
Are you sure you don't work for the bank?
No, man, I'm just learning from you. So no, I appreciate it, and thank you so much for sharing that. What advice do you have for anyone who is looking to buy a home in today's market?
So the biggest advice I'll give is the mortgage process, the home buying process is not as complex than it sounds. If you're not in the market, you don't really know what the process is, and sometimes people get pushed away because they think it's too complex, they're not going to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is, come talk to me, ask me, how much you can get pre-approved for. At least we can crunch the numbers on pen and paper and give you an idea of what your budget will look like. That way, at least if you're not planning to buy today, you know what your goals are, and in the short or long term, if you want to buy a property or not, and what it would look like for you. So talk to me about it, and I'm more than happy to just give advice.
That is awesome. And the importance of speaking with someone like Sandeep is that of course we all have a goal of purchasing a home. But with today's society, we've almost everyone just continues to say we'll never own a home these days. Well, I'll tell you law of attraction. You attract what you think and you attract what you believe. So if you believe you'll never own a home, you'll never own a home. If you believe you will own a home, you'll own a home. But the best thing about going to see Sandeep is that you can get an actual idea of what it's going to take. Because if you have a goal of owning a home, but you have no idea about the process, then you're almost shooting aimlessly. So this way, it gives you a target to directly aim at, and you're headed into the right direction. So necessarily, if you're thinking about buying a home, even maybe if it's not in budget yet, it's the first step to take. So come on and follow Sandeep. I'll put the link below and his account and everything. Make sure you guys go follow him if you have any questions on the housing market, on mortgages, on purchasing, whatever it is, on even becoming a mortgage specialist. Make sure you guys go send Sandeep a DM. He is more than happy to answer any questions and connect with anyone out there. So thank you, Sandeep, so much for coming in. I would shake your hand, but you have the microphone in it, so we'll wrap it up there. I really appreciate your time, and that was great. Like that was a really great insight on the career and some really great tips on the housing market itself. So thank you.
Thank you, Roman, for giving me this time and opportunity to share my thoughts. And if you have any questions, or if you know any family and friends, as you said, who have questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Definitely flood this guy's DM, send him a bunch of questions. He's more than willing to help. And this is how we gain more knowledge and insight on what it takes to take the next steps of moving forward in life. So this is where you get to add value to people, my friend. And this is the great thing about the career itself and where you can make a difference. So again, thank you, my friend. It was awesome.
Thank you.